Napoleon was often compared to Alexander the Great in the English world, and he is remembered as one of the greatest military leaders in history. But while he conquered nations with cannons and cavalry, his personal life looked more like a soap opera than a history book. He lost his virginity in a Paris brothel, though according to accounts, it wasn't exactly smooth sailing. He actually failed 3 times before finally succeeding with the 4th woman. Imagine Napoleon, the great strategist, defeated not by Russia, but by basic intimacy. Later, he claimed his first wife, Josephine, was the one who really taught him how to make love. So yes, behind every great man is a very patient woman. Napoleon married twice in his life. He admitted to having 7 lovers, though historians believe he probably had at least 21. Let's be honest, when a man gives you a number, double or triple it for accuracy. He was famously short, and rumour had it that he was also small in another department. To make matters worse, one of his mistresses, an actress, was intimate with both him and his sworn enemy, the Duke of Wellington. The gossip at the time. Wellington was apparently far better in bed. Imagine winning the Battle of Austerlitz, but losing the bedroom war to your rival. Brutal. Officially, Napoleon tied the knot with Austrian Princess Marie-Louise on April 1st, 1810. Yes, April Fool's Day, perhaps a sign from the universe. But officially married didn't stop him from fathering children with other women. In fact, he managed to have 2 illegitimate children born just 1 day apart. His Polish mistress, Marie Walewska, gave birth to Alex on May 4th, 1810. Meanwhile, his Austrian lover, Emily Kraus, gave birth to Eugène on May 3rd, 1810. Talk about scheduling conflicts. Imagine sending out birth announcements back to back. Despite all of this, Napoleon insisted that Josephine was the only woman he had ever truly loved. He made sure she, and most of the women he had cared for or been intimate with, were financially secure. Of course, Napoleon also had a very particular philosophy about women. He once said, "A woman laughing is a woman conquered," which really just makes him sound like the guy who tells a bad joke and thinks your pity laugh means you're in love with him. He also admitted, "I take women and forget them," claiming that power itself gave him pleasure. Yet ironically, he never entirely forgot the women he was once close to. Napoleon's first great love was Caroline Colombier. In 1786, after finishing military school, he was stationed in the town of Valence, where he fell for her. Their romance was sweet but innocent. They never shared physical intimacy. She was 25, he was just 17, which probably explains it. 2 decades later, when Caroline reached out for a favour, Napoleon showered her and her family with gifts. He even reminisced about their innocent dates, saying, "We could not have been more innocent than we were. We made small appointments. I still remember one at daybreak in the middle of summer. Our happiness was reduced to eating cherries together." Cherries. Not exactly the steamy love affair people expected, but hey, everyone starts somewhere. His first actual intimate experience came later, around 1795 at a Paris brothel. As mentioned, he only succeeded with the 4th prostitute. Proof that persistence was his real superpower. Apparently part of his motivation was research for a love novel he was writing at the time, titled Clisson and Eugénie. Who else loses their virginity as homework for a book? Then there was Desiree Clary, the woman who would eventually become Queen of Sweden. Desiree's sister Julie married Napoleon's older brother, Joseph Bonaparte. Napoleon and Desiree got engaged, but her family wasn't thrilled about having a double dose of Bonaparte. In 1795, Napoleon broke off the engagement after falling head over heels for the enchanting Josephine de Beauharnais. Desiree later married Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte, one of Napoleon's generals, who went on to become King of Sweden and a serious enemy of Napoleon. Imagine your ex not only marrying your co-worker, but also turning him into your most dangerous rival. Desiree even found herself acting as a messenger between the 2 men, which must have been the most awkward third-wheeling job in history. Napoleon's first wife and greatest love was Josephine. She was the only woman he ever loved deeply, and his affection for her remained unmatched. In 1795, the 2 met at a ball hosted by Paul Barras, who at the time was Josephine's lover. Josephine carried an irresistible charm. Beyond her exotic looks and graceful manner, she was notorious for her seductive talents. For example, she decorated her bedroom with numerous mirrors to create the illusion of heightened passion. It was also widely known that Josephine would perform a mysterious dance in bed called the zigzags, though nobody really knows what that entailed. Josephine was the one who awakened Napoleon's confidence in intimacy. One of his favourite acts was pleasuring her during their private moments. His passion for her was so strong that he once wrote, "I am coming home, don't wash." Despite disapproval from Josephine's family, Napoleon was completely infatuated, and the two married in 1796. On their wedding night, however, Napoleon discovered that he had to share the bed not just with Josephine, but also with her fiercely protective dog. During their intimacy, the animal bit Napoleon on the leg. Only 2 days after their marriage, Napoleon left for the Italian campaign. Almost immediately, Josephine began a romantic involvement with a handsome officer named Hippolyte Charles. While Josephine rarely replied to Napoleon's passionate letters, she nonetheless received them. His letters overflowed with devotion and desire. "How happy I would be if I could help you undress. The little firm white breast, the adorable face, the hair tied in a Creole scarf. Oh, you know I will never forget those little visits. The little black forest. I kiss it 1,000 times and wait impatiently for the moment I can be there again. A kiss on your heart and one much lower down. Much lower." Napoleon poured his heart into every word, while Josephine's responses were flat and dull. To make matters worse, she often read his letters aloud to her friends, mocking him. Napoleon frequently kissed her portrait in longing, but Josephine never even glanced at his. When she later travelled to Italy to visit him, she brought along her lover, Hippolyte Charles. So blinded by his obsession, Napoleon didn't notice the affair. As soon as Josephine returned to Paris, she openly continued her intimate relationship with Charles. In retaliation, Napoleon himself began indulging in revenge affairs. 2 years later, during the Egyptian campaign, 1798 to 1801, Napoleon's brother informed him about Josephine's unfaithfulness. This time, he finally believed it. His rage poured out in a letter. "I don't love you, not at all. On the contrary, I detest you. You're a naughty, gawky, foolish woman." Unfortunately for him, the British intercepted this letter and published it, humiliating him before the public. Not long after, Napoleon began an affair with Pauline Faure, who at the time was married to one of his lieutenants. Napoleon had several intimate relationships. His sister Pauline was even nicknamed Cleopatra by him. Despite Josephine's past affairs and his own wish for divorce, Napoleon forgave her because he feared being abandoned. Josephine in turn stopped her infidelities and tried to win him back. Yet by this time, Napoleon was no longer a man who could be swayed by any woman's influence. For him, power had become his greatest love. He famously declared, "My mistresses do not engage my feelings in the least. Power is my mistress." Although Napoleon loved Josephine deeply, he divorced her because she could not give him children. Their marriage officially ended in 1810, but even after the divorce, Napoleon ensured she was well cared for, granting her a luxurious residence and a large annual income. Their bond remained strong, and many believe they were secretly still in love. As Josephine herself said, "The only thing that ever came between us was my debts, certainly not his manhood." In 1814, the same year Josephine died, Napoleon was exiled to the small island of Elba off the coast of France. When he heard of her death, he was so devastated that he locked himself in his room, refusing food and water for 2 days. Napoleon himself died years later in exile on the remote island of St. Helena in 1821. On his deathbed, Josephine, the woman he cherished most, was among his final thoughts. His last words included her name and France. Napoleon's first child was not with Josephine, but with his sister Caroline's maid, Eleanore Denuel. In 1805, Napoleon met the then 18-year-old Eleanore, who was also involved with Caroline's husband. Since Josephine already had 2 children from her previous marriage, but bore none with Napoleon, many suspected he was infertile. To disprove this rumour, he fathered a child with Eleanore in 1806. Their son, Charles Léon, was born on December 13, 1806, confirming Napoleon's ability to have children. Throughout his life, Napoleon had many mistresses scattered across Europe. While historians counted at least 21, Napoleon himself admitted to only 7. Among them were women of striking beauty and influence. One of his most famous mistresses was Countess Marie Walewska, a young Polish noblewoman. They met in Warsaw in 1807, where she eagerly awaited his arrival. Captivated, Napoleon told her, "I have only seen you. I have only admired you. I desire only you." Although Marie initially tried to protect her reputation, sneaking into his quarters at night and leaving before dawn, their affair soon became an open secret. While she claimed in her memoirs that she gave herself to him for the sake of Poland, even Napoleon's close acquaintances confirmed that she truly fell in love with him. Their relationship lasted several years, and on May 4th, 1810, she gave birth to a son, Alexandra Kolona-Walewski. Though clearly Napoleon's child, her husband officially accepted the boy as his own. Another important mistress was Emily Kraus, whom Napoleon met in Austria in 1805. Emily, only 20 at the time, was the adopted daughter of an Austrian commander. Napoleon gave her the code name Felix, and took great care to hide their affair. She even dressed as a boy to accompany him on military campaigns, though she was not allowed to live at court. Their affair lasted for 5 years, and on May 3rd, 1810, Emily gave birth to Napoleon's son Eugène. Strikingly, just a day later, his Polish mistress Marie Walewska gave birth to Alexandra, another son of Napoleon's. Ironically, at almost the exact same time, Napoleon had just married his second wife, the Austrian Princess Marie-Louise, in April 1810. This new marriage marked the end of his long affair with Emily Kraus. Napoleon's final mistress was Albine de Montholon, who joined him in exile on the island of St. Helena in 1815. Notorious for her many lovers, was part of Napoleon's entourage. Even though she was accompanied by her third husband, Charles de Montholon, she engaged in multiple affairs, one of them with Napoleon himself. She became the mother of 2 of Napoleon's daughters, Hélène and Josephine, both of whom she gave birth to. However, once Napoleon discovered that Albine was also romantically involved with another man, he ordered her to leave the island. Later, Napoleon married the Austrian Princess Marie-Louise. When Napoleon was crowned Emperor of France in 1805, he faced a personal challenge. His wife, Josephine, could no longer bear children. By 1810, the couple separated, and Napoleon married Marie-Louise, who was only 19 years old at the time. Napoleon himself was not present at the wedding ceremony. Marie-Louise initially resented him. Her great-aunt, Marie Antoinette, had been executed by guillotine in France in 1793, and Napoleon had fought several wars against Austria, reasons that fueled her dislike of the marriage. She even called Napoleon an antichrist, and said that simply seeing him would be the worst form of torture. But over time, Napoleon managed to break through her resistance, and Marie-Louise fell deeply in love with him. She admitted, "He loves me, and my response to his love is sincere. There is something about him, his eagerness and allure, that is impossible to resist." Marie-Louise, though timid and modest at home, became a devoted and submissive wife. While Napoleon missed the fiery and lively Josephine, he eventually grew to respect Marie-Louise. She bore him a son, but nearly died during childbirth. Deeply moved, Napoleon promised her he would never ask her to give birth to another heir, declaring, "Never a lie, never a debt." In 1814, after Napoleon was exiled to Elba, Marie-Louise and their son Napoleon II returned to Vienna. Her father strictly forbade her from ever visiting Napoleon again. Despite this, Napoleon continued to pursue other relationships. He became romantically involved with several opera and theatre stars, a privilege made possible by his fame and powerful status, which opened the doors of his bedroom to many performers. Among them was Caroline Branchou, a French soprano who sang at the Paris Opera between 1778 and 1850. She became Napoleon's lover in 1802, and in return he boosted her career and arranged for her to receive a salary of 3,000 francs, roughly $4,000 in today's money. Another was Giuseppina Grassini, an Italian contralto born in 1773. Napoleon met her in Milan in 1800, and their romance soon took them to Paris, where she also performed in the opera. Napoleon also had affairs with actresses Marguerite Georges and Josephine Duchesnois, 2 of France's most talented stage performers between 1802 and 1804. Marguerite had first been the mistress of Napoleon's brother, Lucien Bonaparte, before beginning her own affair with Napoleon. After Napoleon's defeat in 1814, she famously started a relationship with his greatest rival, the Duke of Wellington, who had defeated Napoleon on the battlefields of Europe. Aside from an Italian opera singer, Joseph Grassi, Marguerite Georges is believed to be the only woman to have been intimately involved with both Napoleon and Wellington. Though she never revealed publicly which man was the better lover, she once remarked, "The Duke was by far the stronger." We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're a true history addict, and let us know in the comments which civilization or time period you'd like us to cover next.